When my first baby was born, like so many new moms, I was milestone obsessed. Nowadays, I've heard they have these fancy apps that tell you everything you need to know about having a baby. They didn't have those when my babies were born. But my milestone book, I was obsessed with that book. Every morning, I would open the book and look to see what I might find out today. Rolling over, check. Discovering their toes, check. Smiling at me, check, check, check. And it wasn't just me. Aunts and uncles, friends and grandparents, they all seem to end up sitting on the floor with your baby at that age, cooing and playing, looking to see what new skill they might have missed over the past days or weeks. And as the months go by, your list of checks gets longer and your baby grows along with your love. But some parents, they may begin to notice that the milestones aren't coming or skills seem to be disappearing. And they'll mention their concerns to their doctor, and their doctor might say, "It's okay, he's a boy." Or, sorry boys. Or, she's the youngest in the family. Let's just wait and see. But every day, your worry is growing and growing. And when Grandpa mentions his concerns to you, your worries compound, and you think to yourself, "I swear he used to play peekaboo. Was I wrong?" Many parents will then resort to looking up symptoms on the internet, sitting in front of their computer or on the phone, typing things in like lining up toys, or "he won't look at his sister." And that's where they see it for the first time. Autism. In North America in 2004, 1 in 166 children were diagnosed with an autism spectrum disorder. In 2018, we saw an increase to 1 in 58 children. That makes autism one of the fastest growing neurodevelopmental disabilities in the world. And for many families, hearing the word autism for the first time is hard to even wrap your head around. And they can't help but feel that they might be losing the perfect future for their perfect child. And this isn't my personal story about my child, but it is the story of thousands. When I first started hearing from Oliver's mom, he was only 2 months old, and she called me up and said, "I think Oliver has autism." And I had to tell her, we don't even start looking at kids until they're much older. And I gave her a few tips, and I sent her on her way. And 2 months later, she called me again. And I had to tell her, maybe at 12 months old, I can give you a referral, maybe then, but that's about the youngest I have ever seen. And 2 months later, she showed up at my office, and she put him in my arms. Now, I don't diagnose autism, but I do treat it. And as soon as I looked down, I knew. Because you see, Oliver was much more interested in the objects around the room than he was people. And he wasn't looking up in my eyes, and he wasn't looking at his mom, and he wasn't looking at his dad. So I really should have listened. So I got in touch with a psychologist at Queen's University who's always been amazing at thinking outside the box, and she said she would see him right away. She modified developmental assessments that were meant for older children. And when she called me up, she said, yes, Mom was right. He was delayed on all of his milestones. And he met the criteria for an autism spectrum disorder if he were older. They can't diagnose that young. So we got busy. Treatment for infants is just beginning, and Oliver lives in a rural area where access to a specialist is difficult at the best of times. So we trained Mom and Dad in their home and over FaceTime, and we taught them how to transform their lives into thousands of teachable moments And we taught them how to teach him, how to imitate, and how to increase their interaction all day long. In this one video that Mom sent me, they were sitting at their kitchen table, and she would bang one spoon, and Oliver in his high chair would bang his spoon, and then she would bang 2 spoons, and then he would bang 2 spoons. And little by little, Oliver started to improve, and his head lifted, and he started noticing people. And now he could imitate so he could learn. So this time when they brought him back to Queen's University, and the psychologist called me, she said she couldn't believe it. He had caught up on all of his milestones and no longer met the criteria for an autism spectrum disorder. Today, Oliver's 5 years old. And I just ran into him at the ski hill 2 weeks ago, and he wanted to go to the top of the hill with his dad. He's doing fantastic. Now, do we know for sure that if his mom hadn't been so persistent, that he would have ended up with an autism spectrum diagnosis? No, but we don't need to know, because he's in kindergarten thriving. Many parents feel this worry, and they think, I need to act. I need to do more than wait and see. But all over the world, parents are getting up and seeing closed doors everywhere they turn. They are waiting for a diagnosis, they are waiting for treatment, and they are waiting for funding. And this isn't okay. Now, what if I told you that your young child could catch up and stay caught up with his peers? He could learn how to be more independent, and probably most important to you, she could learn how to share her ideas and feelings. And what if I told you that you could learn how to create this lifestyle of teachable moments? And that this method I'm talking about has over 40 years of peer-reviewed research. I'm a behavior analyst who follows a particular science of learning called applied behavior analysis, or ABA for short. It is the leading technique for the treatment of autism, and I guess it works because it also extends to healthcare, business management, teaching in public schools, and so much more. Thousands of research studies confirm that, particularly when applied behavior analysis is started early and intensively, almost all will benefit. In fact, almost 50% of children who start early ABA can end up learning alongside their peers in public school, and the other 50% will make important gains in independence. What if Oliver's mom hadn't been so persistent? We now know that early response is key, but how do you know which doors to knock on and when? Recently, the American Academy of Pediatrics has stated that if developmental concerns exist, don't wait for a diagnosis. Begin treatment right away. But how do parents start when in most places governments haven't stepped up and found a solution to funding? Well, many parents start by looking into paying for applied behavior analysis themselves, only to discover that it costs between $50,000 to $100,000 a year to fund a full-time ABA program. And you might be able to scare up enough money for a year or two of therapy if you're one of the lucky ones who can sell or remortgage your home or borrow money from multiple family members. Like this family. They moved their family of 5, now they're a family of 7. They've been busy. But they moved their family of 5 into a 1-bedroom apartment for 2 years so that they could fund their son's therapy. You may also find yourself alongside other parents on the front line, wondering, how is this even a thing? And why don't public resources exist for this already? I wish that I could stand up here and tell you that I have all of the answers. I don't. But in working in an imperfect treatment system for my entire career, I have learned a few things. And what I know for sure is that without parents continuing to advocate, nothing changes. If you're Oliver's mom, you keep bugging me until I listen. And if you don't have access to someone like me, you plant yourself in the doctor's office armed with resources from the internet, and what you don't do is stop asking questions. And that's not to say that all advocacy works or that change happens quickly. But in my experience, sustained efforts, whether you're fighting for a government to listen to you or fighting for a school principal to listen to you about your kid, sustained efforts have a better chance of winning than silence. But advocacy won't teach your child how to brush their teeth or ask for juice. So when you don't have the resources, whether it's money or access to a specialist, what can you do? You can ignite change by creating your own home ABA program. And it is not always going to be easy. You're not going to look like this family all the time. But you're going to start having moments like this. So whether your child's already in a therapy center and you just want to become partners in their learning, or you're on that long wait for funding, or you don't have the resources in the area that you live, there are things that you can do right now. Build your community. You have to start here. So many parents tell me that this is the one thing that they missed, and they needed to find people that could help them. So gather interested friends, family members, and neighbors. You can even reach out to other parents who have children with autism. These people will become your family's surrogate parents, support workers, and babysitters. They will also become your psychological and emotional support because they will understand more than most what you're trying to do. Get trained. Get trained now. Don't wait. There are thousands of resources online that can train you and your community. Some are even provided for free and just require your time. And while it's important to understand that you need to get trained, you don't need a PhD to work with your child. Mostly you need passion. Just think about Oliver's mom. Use technology to access a specialist if you need to. Technology makes getting a specialist more and more accessible every day. Think about it. We buy our groceries online, we connect with friends. Why would applied behavior analysis be any different? These people can help you design your child's program, train your community, and provide ongoing support. There's some research that's starting to come out about ABA telehealth, and it's showing that it can be as effective in some cases as in-home supervision. It's really exciting, and it's much more cost-effective. So, gather your community, get trained, and use technology, and open new doors for you and your family. One of the best things about having a home ABA program is that goals can be incorporated into your everyday life. There's more learning that can happen at the grocery store or while just folding laundry. Learning shapes and colors and labels of things, the list of possibilities is endless. And when you can create this lifestyle of teachable moments, you can increase those therapy hours. And sometimes it's that little bit extra that can make all the difference. So make your home an ABA home, where every activity provides one more opportunity to learn one more skill. And autism may make some things more challenging, but with patience, love, and understanding, your child and you can ignite a whole new set of milestones so that you can confidently step through that wide open door to potential. Thank you.